Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Susy from Emergency Encounters has linked up with Mr. Barber from Bigfoot's Barber Shop to again venture into the darkness of the fox den to awaken me from my slumber as we again go dogman hunting. Absolutely delicious. I do appreciate Susy and Mr. Barber bringing me gifts. I have been sleeping for so long that I really did need some extra nutrients. Now, without further ado, it is once again time for Susy and myself, and of course Mr. Barber, to take a walk into the darkness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night. Yes, once again, it is midnight lycanthropy time here on LordeStarfox Radio. Lately, we've been having our hosts and guests with some great collaborations and some positive feedback from the audience. So here on out, I will be trying to consolidate a lot of my hosts together to bring the audience some very imperative information while also freeing up my schedule a bit, which is going to be excellent. Same amount of content, same amount of hosts, yet a little bit more free time for Starfox. This is great. Tonight, we have Susy from Emergency Encounters. You should recognize that name. Yes, Colleen, who is just on here, who is one of my great buddies and also a scientist for the Midnight Society, was most recently on here a few days ago, and her podcast has just aired. We also have, of course, Mr. Barber, aka Bigfoot's Barber Shop, a weekly host times two. We have gathered around the late night fire to once again burn the timber into the early hours of the morning. Susy, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I am doing amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's really great to get a chance to sit down and hang out with you. I appreciate you. And Barber, man, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy Easter to everybody. Just settling down after the, Easter dinner hangover now.
Yes, this is excellent. Pretty much, I have just been doing a lot of editing today, but yes, happy Easter to everybody. Been watching a little bit of True Blood because I'm a herb and had some free time today to catch up on that. And actually, up in the background, boo-hoo, because my Boston Bruins are absolutely butt cheeks. I do have the NHL playoffs on, pretending in a perfect world the Bruins would have been here. Yet, well, is what it is, right?
That's where video games can come in handy, because you could still live your dream through NHL 25.
That is so funny. Susy, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself? What got you interested into the whole topics that you do cover? I don't want to spoil it for the audience because I am going to allow you and Mr. Barber to have this excellent conversation, but will you fire it off for us, my friend?
Yeah, you bet. So, I am another psychic medium, and I have been interested in this kind of field my entire life because I come from a long line of psychic mediums, both male and female, from my mother's side. And I grew up with, well, in an area where it's not readily talked about or wasn't really accepted, but within my family, it definitely was. And so I had that kind of familial support if I saw anything or heard anything or had some kind of experience. And then from there, it's been passed on down to my children. So I've got memories starting clear back from, I think the earliest is about 3 years old, or maybe two. Yeah. So it's an ongoing thing, and it's just always been pretty much omnipresent in my life. There's not been one fantastic, occurrence like a car accident or anything like that. It's just simply in our DNA.
So that's rather unique, isn't it? Because most of the people, it seems like they have to reach a certain age or something, as you mentioned, kind of traumatic happens where maybe it's been happening in their lives, but they didn't talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. Or like I said, some of them will have a near-death experience and they never had experiences up until then, and then they'll have them after that. But I've just seen a lot of things and experienced a lot, just even not just isolated by myself, but with family members. So I do have that about validation there that things have happened when there's been more than one of us in the room or in the same area. And so I go on investigations with Pocatello Paranormal Research, and I do other investigations on the side on my own. I read tarot for people. I try to help heal them, help guide them, because in my real life, I've worked as a special ed teacher and in the mental health field. So it all kind of overlaps.
So what made you decide to, because I'm not sure of your age, so I'm trying to be a gentleman and not ask, but did you grow up during the era when talking about that would be taboo? Or, I mean, you mentioned that it was family okay, but what made you decide to be public with it?
So I'll be 52 next month. Woohoo! It's a pleasure to, get to these ages. But I grew up in an era where you didn't talk about those things because then you would be labeled crazy, put in the psych ward, wasn't very accepted. But within my family, we were able to talk about that. So it was a little different. Growing up, I could talk to a few close people, but mostly family. And then as I felt the energy and the people shift, so what I mean is like collective consciousness. So the world became more open, more interested in things they couldn't understand, especially with the advent of like the internet. There we could talk about more things and open our minds a little bit wider. So, and then after, what was it? I could definitely feel the shift in everyone, being more spiritual, being more open to things that were not of their regular day to day. Because prior to that, I felt like everybody was just more concerned about what car they had, what job they had, how much money they were making, very, self-centered and self-focused. But once COVID hit, they had all that time just to kind of sit and maybe face their mortality as a possibility. And I think that brought on what I'm seeing is more of a spiritual revolution. And so I've been way more open about my gifts and abilities and put it straight out to the public now.
Now, did you notice with I talked to a few people and I have a couple close friends that have abilities. Once the internet kind of took off, did you notice people were like a shift in the energy where it almost seemed like, it was easier to read people because the thoughts were stronger, their aura was a little more defined?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like once the internet came, it allowed people to kind of step out of their box. Metaphysically, I'm not sure if it actually, like the entity of the internet alone changed them. Like, made them easier to read. I think it was just literally them opening their own minds up to the possibilities, because there's more information out there. They can share stories, and they can say, oh, there's more people like me, or these other people have had similar experiences, so it's okay to share, it's okay to talk about it.
So instead of having their protection and walls up, they just kind of allow themselves to be a little more open.
Absolutely.
And try to think of how to phrase this. As far as helping people, when did that?
All my life. They knew it or yeah. So there's been times where people have just asked for like a prayer, just come in, and I would go into their homes and feel it and know if there was something there. And then I checked people's homes before they moved in. I said, this is probably not a good idea. This one isn't good. But then there was also friends of mine that needed some kind of healing, and I would just send them healing energy. I would remove whatever it was that was ailing from them and just kind of cast it out to the universe, and then send them healing back from the universe, just kind of fill it up. So in a way, like I said, I've been always helping, but some of them didn't know it.
So do you specialize in one a little more than the other, or have more lean toward more like mediumship or healing, or is it just kind of one big collective topic?
Big thing, because as long as I've been doing this, and as long as I've been, experiencing everything I have, everything is overlapped. Everything is related. I see, so like when I went to college, I saw that everything had that one grain of truth that ran through everything. So let's say you've got your religion and your art and your philosophy and your history, and you had multiple religions that you're talking about in there. There was always one grain that I could just see run through absolutely everything. And so I'm kind of more of a universal believer, that there's like one collective universal truth through everything, instead of picking it apart. So mediumship and healing, to me, they go hand in hand. If I do a tarot reading for you, there's going to be whatever the universe wants you to know. And sometimes it's not rainbows and unicorns. It can be a little bit, lectury and or some advice. So there's been quite a few people that are used to me just saying, hey, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to tell you. I don't want to get slapped by the universe for not saying what it tells me to tell you. So.
And as far as how do you do this with your kids? Is it just something you let them bring up, or?
So I do have my youngest that participates. So I have 3 children. The 2 older ones, they know what's out there. They're like too busy, don't want to deal with it. The youngest one is actively involved. So she does go with me on investigations, and she does participate in a lot of the healing, and she has the same gifts that I do.
And were there some sharp learning curves when you started doing, like, do you do paranormal investigations, I take it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So as far as like protection or attachments, did you go through any of those?
I have actually.
Were you prepared?
So I've actually never had an attachment. I have had things thrown at me, objects thrown at me. I've been rushed by spirits, but I am way more powerful than they are, simply because I am here, and I'm like, not operating at a level that they are, where, they're wanting to, if they're not a good one, they're wanting to harm or scare or just kind of collect negative energy. So they don't have power over me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're more of a resident, and they're trying to fight for their place here.
Yeah, well,
so you have to spend energy just being here.
Yes, Colleen sometimes tells me that I kind of push everything out when I walk in. So there's been times I'll just read a room for her, and I'll say, okay, you've got this, this, and this going on, but you can't ask questions until I leave, because they're kind of frightened. They're back in the corner. So let me step out, give it about 15 minutes, and then it'll pick back up for you, the activity.
Now, see, that's not a bad problem to have. It's better than having to, constantly cleanse your house because things follow you home.
No, and that's the funny thing is so like Gina and some of the other friends that I have, there's a couple of them that are similar to me, and we're actually, it's not the places that are haunted, it's more like we are, if that makes sense, because they're attracted to us. So I explain it like you're inside of a black room, there's no light, and then all of a sudden somebody flicks a lighter. That light there is us, and we draw to us, the people that need help or want to talk or just anything. So yeah, it shows up pretty blatantly, I guess you'd want to say.
So what has been your most memorable as far as helping, or what's one that you hang your hat on? You said, I'm so glad I pursued this path. Is there any one in particular, or is it just a culmination of everything you've done?
Goodness, I hate to sound so, but it is kind of a culmination of everything I've done. I am very proud of being more open and out about it, like just saying, hey, universe, I'm okay with it now. Let me help as many people as I can. Just putting myself out there, that has made me really proud, because I've been able to help way more people than before. But as far as like individual stories, I could tell you those for days about just crazy things that have happened to me since I was little.
Have you ever had one in particular that made you rethink, oh crap, maybe I shouldn't be here?
No, not really. But when I was very young, when you're little and you don't really know what's going on and you're more frightened of everything. There was quite a few times, and it wasn't sleep paralysis, because I was laying wide awake in my bed and it would fill up with darkness. It would come in and just absolutely get thick and heavy and black. And then I would feel them pressing down on my chest and around my throat, trying to choke me. So, unalive me.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yep. Scream, not being able to scream, but just putting into the practices of what my mother had told me to do if ever I ran into any kind of negativity. But throughout other things, I've had objects thrown at me. I've had like metal, it was a bowl and some tools chucked at my head a few times. So it's just, people that are not happy with their situation on the other side, or whatever they did on the other side, or they don't want to be stopped from what they're doing.
So have you been to like I hate to say major, because everything's major when you're talking paranormal, but like Waverly Place, or where there's just some off the chart place? What's the most memorable place you've been to?
So of the famous ones, like everybody goes there to do ghost hunting and stuff, the ones that I have been to was Idaho State Penitentiary. And that one was really fascinating. There's a lot of heaviness there, a lot of sadness, saw a lot of shadow figures, heard talking, coughing, keys jangling. But the most memorable experience, so I visited it twice. The first time I went down into what they called the cooler. So it was isolation, and it was just like a big cement building that was rounded, and it was just terrible. My children were in one of the other jail cells, and I thought I heard some noise in the furthest one. And so I quickly snapped a picture, and then I walked down in there, and the noise that I had heard, it sounded like somebody had kicked a water bottle. And I thought, why in the heck would there be a water bottle anywhere in here? Well, sure enough, when I went inside of the jail cell, there was a water bottle that was in there, and the water was still sloshing. And then got home, take a look at my digital camera, and sure enough, there is a gentleman sticking his head out around the corner, and you can see his old-fashioned, probably 1930s, maybe 20s haircut. He had you could see the collar on his blue shirt, and you can start to make out some of his prison numbers that are on the side of it. And then the next year, I went back again, and I went right back into that same room, and I stood there, and I just asked if he was still there. And while I was standing there, I felt a hand slide in and hold my left hand. So he was definitely still there, but he didn't frighten me. I just felt more sad than anything for the poor guy, because a lot of those offenses that they were put in there for was stuff that people wouldn't even blink an eye at now.
That's one thing I've always wondered. And you know what? I don't think I've ever asked anybody. What do you think? I mean, prison's not the nicest place to be. What do you think keeps the spirit there? I mean, why don't they? Are they afraid of what they've done and what comes next? Or, like you said, sometimes the offenses aren't that bad. So,
So to me, it's a choice. That's the way I look at it. We have run into spirits that are like, they don't know they're because things happen so suddenly that they're just kind of stuck there replaying things. Others I've run into that it's been a choice for them, and they just are scared of what's going to happen on the other side. Like, if you believe in you're going to burn in hell as soon as you go to the other side, would you want to go, or would you want to hang out here as long as you could? That's
right.
kind of my theory. So I did. So this is another side note story. I had an ex-brother-in-law that spent a lot of time in prison, and he was let out early because he ended up having a brain tumor. So I knew the night when he passed because I could feel him, and I felt him step into the room, and he let me know energetically that he was scared. He was so absolutely frightened to go because of the things that he had done in this life, and things that he had heard. And I just told him, I'm like, it's okay. You can go, just go with them. It's going to be all right. There's nothing bad. Just go ahead and move on. And I felt him leave. And then my sister called and said, hey, so and so passed away at this time, which was the same time I had felt him. And I let her know that he had moved on. He didn't stay. And I haven't felt him since. So to me, I think he's on the other side, learning, growing, raising his vibration. And my theory, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but I don't really think this is our one and only shot. I think this is kind of more like a school. You get to come back and learn a new lesson if you like. This year, my senior year, whatever you want to call it, maybe I'm learning about spirituality, and maybe in the next life I'll have to learn, another lesson. So that's my thoughts anyway.
No, and those are interesting because I like to ask people what's next, but whether it's levels or is it what you believe in and that's what you get, or like you said, do you come back because somebody once told me because someone in my family, cut their life short.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, they don't go on yet. They got to come back and figure out what happened and get through that.
Well,
So they got a lesson to learn.
Yeah, and I think every situation is different. So I don't look at the same as like a lot of people around here. Sorry if I wasn't supposed to say that word, but around here look at it as selfish and a terrible act. I don't look at it the same. Because of the state of their minds that they're in, especially I've had a lot of experience with the mental health field, and they're trying to save everyone else the pain that they're going through. And so on the other side, I think that it's case by case, and they can decide what they want to do with it, because you still have free agency whether you're here or there. If he wants to stay put or learn that lesson, or if he understands, the pain he went through and figures out why and move on from there to a next one.
Now, I've heard that sometimes there's pieces that go and pieces that stay. Is it once you go over, you're done as far as you won't get, maybe residual voices, but you won't get the intelligent responses from someone?
So, and here I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. I still have connections to people who have passed on the other side, and no, they don't hang out, but I can call them to me if I need them, or they will show up if I am in need. If I'm having a rough time or they need to tell me something, they'll still show up. And energy is so different because you're kind of trapped here in this body, right? Which keeps you in one spot in the living room, let's say in your house. But when you're not in that, just pure energy. And you turn on the light in that living room, and that light comes on in that living room, but it can also cast light into the kitchen. It can cast light into the bathroom or to the bedroom. And that's like energy. It can be in more than one place at one time.
Perfect analogy. Now I get it, because, I'll be honest, it was my dad, and I thought, one, I agree with you. When people say it's selfish, I'm like, who's more selfish? The person that's in pain now, or the person you want them to come back being in that pain? It's like, no, I wouldn't want that for anybody. But then there's times I think, man, I hope he's not, because right now my life's pretty boring. He's got to be bored out of his mind if he's waiting for something exciting to happen. He's got to have better things on the other side to do.
Yeah, no, well, I can tell you right now, he's not unhappy. He is not unhappy at all. He is sad that he put you guys through that pain, because he does realize that it does affect everybody, but he's not unhappy. He's found a lot of balance, and he's had time to do some introspection as well. And he is there to support you more than you know. I think you can smell him now and then, especially when you're sitting alone quiet. I think you've sensed him behind you a few times.
Yep, you've hit it right on the head, because we worked on a lot of cars, and every time I'll be sitting in my chair, and you'll glance over at somebody did a Paint My Life picture of him. I'll just glance up, and all of a sudden I can smell transmission fluid.
Yep. I can see you sitting in a recliner and him standing right behind you. Kind of a faded white shirt. It's got a lot of stains on it, but he's definitely telling you that he absolutely loves you and adores you, and he says that you are amazing. You are doing incredible work, and he says keep going.
Now you got me crying, because it'll be 25 years here in a couple weeks. So
yeah, he knows your passion, and he says you're on the right path. He said what you're passionate about. Yep, right path for you. Yeah, he is one proud papa. That's awesome. Don't worry about him. It's okay the way he went. It's accepted. It's fine. I don't blame him at all. I wouldn't want to be sick like that anymore either.
Yeah.
Thank you. Your mom. Yeah, but she understands now. So sorry.
No, thank you, because every once in a while somebody, when I'm talking, I'll pop in and say, hey, by the way, I think the funniest one was he had a certain term of endearment for me where every conversation started with, and then there was another one when I always knew I was in trouble. And that's talking to somebody, and they're like, I just got to interrupt you. There's this older person here, and he keeps showing me this picture of Woody Woodpecker and Goofy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what does this mean? I just busted out laughing and in tears. I said, because every conversation, if I was okay, would start off with, hey, you goofy. So Woody Woodpecker and Goofy.
That's cute.
If I was in trouble, it was a different adjective that started with F in it, and it wasn't fire truck.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the way your dad also would show affection. I'm a bit that way too. I have nicknames like that for my children, poor kids. Oh well.
They appreciate you for it later in life, trust me.
I sure hope so.
Mine's 25 now, so, and he's just now appreciating the humor and couldn't understand why his mom got in several fights with the stepdad, because he is so much like me. She would say, Brian, knock it off, instead of Austin. So I said, yeah, but that went over real well, being called your ex-husband's name.
Yeah. What is it about turtles?
Turtles.
Yeah. Did you or your dad have something about turtles? I don't know why. I keep seeing a turtle. Might come later. I don't know.
I was going to say it might come later. I had snakes and alligators. I never did the turtle, though.
Okay. Because it doesn't quite look like a turtle, but it's got like the reptilian type skin. But I was just kind of thinking, oh, it looks like a turtle. So.
Yeah, I used to raise Burmese pythons and reticulated pythons, and even had a couple diamondback rattlesnakes, copperheads, but a baby alligator. Once the son got old enough to where he almost unlocked a rattlesnake cage, everything went bye-bye.
Yeah, I think If you've had turtles.
Trying to think if he may have had a pet turtle.
Yeah, I don't know. It really stuck out. So that's just something for you.
Somebody will say something, and then 2 or 3 days later, it's like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so I had one where I had used one particular phrase when I was out visiting his grave, and my sister woke me up at 2:30 a.m. and she's like, so and so, you know, I did a reading. It was on Halloween night, and so and so says, you know, that he found the piece he's looking for. And I'm half awake, so it took me about 2 days, and I realized I had said out loud, "I hope you found the piece you were looking for."
Mm.
And it
Do
was
you
like,
leave
oh, that was the real deal out there then.
coins for him?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh?
I still got
Coins.
his wallet with a couple of quarters that were still in it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's there with you. Whenever you talk to him, whenever you need him, all you got to do is call for him. Your guardians.
I think about him every time I'm working on something because, you know, our big thing was working on cars. That was where
And
we
all the
had
customers.
all of our, you know, father-son conversations were under the hood or something like that. And every time I would get in trouble because, as he would say, I was more torque than brains. So now every time I'm working on something, I'm like, okay, don't be more brains, be more brains.
I
Don't
can
break
see
it.
you think about all of the cussing that you used to do when you guys were out there. That's pretty cool.
No, that's some brilliant stuff right there. Nice work, Susie. I do appreciate all that. I was just sitting here listening to that excellent conversation between both you and Mr. Barber for sure. So thank you for educating us all on that. I do know, obviously, you and Mr. Barber have a lot more knowledge on that than I do. I find all those things very interesting for sure. Yeah, I find myself so busy just always editing and getting emails and such on the topics that we try to dive into. So brilliant stuff. I'm going to throw it back to you and Mr. Barber if you have anything else you'd like to chat about before. I do have a couple questions for you I'd like to ask about some interesting Dogman things, and then we'll let you get boogieing, my friend.
Absolutely.
Susie, what's on the horizon now then? What's your current? And I mean, I'm totally thrown off my game, so I should know this could happen and be prepared for it. But you know, when it comes, you know, sometimes my aunt will come through or something, and you know that's cool. But anytime I hear from my dad, it's overwhelming. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So, do you mean on the horizon for me personally, or do you mean for the energy now, like global?
Where are you headed as far as,
Me?
or yeah, what's projects coming up as far as investigations that you're really excited about, or
I have one in the Boise area. It's an old bar. I don't know much about it because Colleen doesn't like me to know anything, even though I usually end up seeing it, you know, and seeing who's there well before we get there, like, you know, a week or more. I'll dream about them. They'll come to me and I'll start telling her stuff about it. And then she's like, why do you keep doing this? I'm like, well, you asked for it. You know, here it is. So that's coming up. I also am working on trying to get my own readings out for people. I am available, you know, to do readings for others that need guidance or want to reach out to loved ones. I'm Intuitivetaurusmoon on TikTok and Facebook, I think Instagram. So that's me. Go ahead.
if you need a reference, you can put me down right now because I was blown away just now. I mean,
Perfect. And if you ever need it where we're not completely live, we can always dig deeper too if you ever need it. Energetically for like the world. So I know we're kind of in a little bit of chaos, especially politically, and there is quite a bit of a tension there. And we are in the energetic new year, which is April, because, you know, the whole Gregorian calendar that switched everything to the new year being in January is not true. So energetic new year is in April when things start to grow and regenerate again, right? And this year, I am feeling a shift in people because I've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails and texts lately of why am I so angry? Why am I feeling so unsettled? I can't control my emotions. I'm sad all the time. I cry. Well, the thing is, these are collective vibration to start helping each other more and just be better people. And it's literally pushing us to all at once, but also individually. And the reason that they're feeling all of those emotions is subconsciously they're fighting that because they're used to, don't get out of your lane and, you just not in your comfort zone. It's outside of their comfort zone. So they're kind of fighting it. But my advice is to just relax, let those emotions go, let them just, kind of go through you like a wave, and then accept any new things that are coming along because you're going to see new offers, you're going to see new ways of thinking, and just to be really open to that because it's really trying to push us all.
And how would you recommend people do that? Because I know I get so busy in my day that, I've been wanting to, and now I'm trying to look more into like meditating. Try to
Meditating for sure. Grounding, if you're in any place where you can get outside, walk barefoot, hug a tree, be out in nature, get out away from a city, that will help you both immensely. Also, meditating and using sound frequencies. So if you've ever heard of solfeggio frequencies, they actually will help to heal different parts of your body. So take a look at those, listen to them. They're on YouTube. I think you can look them up on Spotify, but those are really good to meditate too. Sometimes I'll just put those on at night and just listen to it, and it'll help me throughout the night, especially if I'm feeling anxious.
and those were called solfeggio?
Solfeggio frequencies, I think. So 432 hertz is a really good healing one. So what you do is you find one that sounds good and it feels complimentary, and just listen to that. Sometimes they might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but sometimes that's usually what you need to work on.
As far as breathing during that, because when I've tried meditating as of late, it's like holding a breath. It's like, okay, wait, when do I inhale, exhale, how long, blah, blah, blah.
Overthinking it. So I used to worry too much about that. Like, okay, I got to quiet my mind. Don't think anything. That's not the way you do it. Okay. So if you want to practice meditating, especially if there's a question on your mind that you're really curious about, you want to know, because all answers are found within you, because you are the universe and the universe is you. Does that make sense? Or shall I give you an analogy?
I'm all up for an analogy.
So if I had a big old round chocolate cake in the room with us, and I was like, look at this, guys, I have a cake. Let's cut this up. So I cut it up into, 12 pieces, and I hand out everybody a piece. Is that no less cake, that one little piece that you just got handed, versus that big round one that started off?
Right.
It's a cake.
Gotcha.
So you are that chocolate cake, but you're still the cake. So you are that piece of the universe, but you're still the universe. Does that make sense? It's
Total
all
sense.
all interconnected. So what I want you to do is take, if you have 10 minutes, great, but 20 minutes it would be really good, but 10 minutes will work. You can pose a question in your mind like, okay, what job should I go for? Should I go for this job or this job? Go out, find some quiet place for you. It can be in your house if you don't have any other nice quiet place. I think for you, it's going to be in your garage, and with the cars, or in your recliner. For me, it's outside or it's in the bathtub because water is very conductive. Okay. You just pose that question and you just lay there and you just relax. You don't worry about your breathing. You don't worry about anything else. And whatever thoughts, feelings, smells, sensations, pictures that roll through your mind, those are your answers, because it'll come to you. That's how you meditate. You don't worry about clearing your mind, how you're breathing. You just relax and let things flow. And those things that you see come up, or, smells, anything like that, that is part of meditation. That is connecting with the universe, 5D, whatever you want to call it. God, source, the universe.
That is the most understanding way anybody's ever put it to me. So
Good.
thank you.
Let me know how for you.
Well, now that I've talked your ear off, I guess we better let Starfox come in, because I know he's got some questions for you as well.
Absolutely epic right here. I do encourage all my hosts and guests to speak as much as they would like. I hear my voice all the time. If I wanted to just be the one to talk, I would do my own podcast, which I would never do. So no, great stuff. Honestly, if I only said my intro and outro in a podcast, that would be absolutely a perfect one. Meaning, yes, that was beautiful on both ends. And I do know the audience is going to definitely appreciate that. We had some great inner work connections. We had some good examples. So no, I appreciate both of you. Yeah, as we are starting to tie this up, Susy, do you mind if I pick your mind real quick with Mr. Barber about some of your thoughts as to what the Dogman is and why you think people are missing?
For sure. So I had actually never heard of the Dogman until I started talking to you. And I'd actually done some research into some of the stories because I listened to your prior podcast with Colleen. And I looked up everything I could find on the one in Idaho Falls. And that's the one I'm going to refute for you, because the stories, she talks about Toffa's Park, she talks about Caribou Targhee National Forest, and she talks about another place. But those are three separate places, but she speaks of them as one. So she says she had her experience in this one place, but the Caribou Targhee National Forest starts probably a good 50 miles away. Okay.
Wow.
Toffa is not near where she was talking about with the knocking grave and the werewolf grave. That's in Rose Hill Cemetery, because I've been there and they fixed the knocking grave. Unfortunately, it was just a loose stone. The werewolf grave is actually two graves next to each other. The last name is Weir and the other one is Wolf. So I think that one, and I couldn't find anything that was like a firsthand account of hers. Everything I found was, somebody telling a story of somebody else's. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I was like, whoa, wait a minute. This doesn't resonate for me, because geographically these are not related. So yes. But I talked to some other people that have had some experiences, mostly with Bigfoot, especially around here, which I think sometimes they can be mistaken for each other. But then some natives close to here state that they are not related, and they feel that Dogman is not native to the Americas, that it was brought over, or they were brought over with white people, that they're actually from Europe. Now, don't know how true that is, but it kind of resonates a little bit for me. I don't know about you guys. What's your thoughts?
Well, first off, excellent. I just wanted to say, while we were recording here too, Colleen sent me a good old text and said hello, so that's awesome right there. And also, Dirty Birdie, yes, Kelly, went to the good old, I believe the second one you referred to with the two different stones that say Were and Wolf, correct? That was pretty interesting. Love how y'all are right out there. Mr. Yeah. Barber, you ready for some Dogman stuff with Susy here real quick before we let you go too? What are your thoughts on that before I answer?
It's interesting with the Dogman being brought over, because, being the more of a Bigfoot person, they constantly relate Bigfoot to indigenous people. Mm-hmm. And you constantly hear about the Bigfoot Dogman War. So could that lend a little credibility to them being brought here, and that's why the two are still having at it?
Well, so me, I've talked to a lot of people that have had experience with Bigfoot. We live right next to the reservation. I have a lot of Native American friends that say that they've run into him several times. I have other people, they're all around, that they're on their property. My youngest daughter has run into one. Now, I've never heard anybody run into a Dogman, which I find just fascinating, even though I did read some reports that they're up in the Boise foothills. So to me, I don't think they could be mistaken. I looked up some videos that looked pretty real, and they looked more like werewolves than anything to me. Probably based on my European mind, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you got the Bigfoot that were already here, like the indigenous, the Native Americans, and the Dogman came over with the white people. Maybe that's why the Bigfoot and Dogman are still having. You constantly hear about. There's either a dividing line where the Bigfoot stay on one side or the Dogman or the other, or there's a battle, whether it's for territory or food sources or who knows. But you never hear about them, hanging out and sharing a deer over dinner.
Right.
Right? Yes. Actually, both of you legends, check your phone real quick. This came from Colleen, our science member, and also Susy's friend and my friend. Check this out. This came from Arizona, where a man said he was out filming the moon and saw something that was crawling towards him. That's the best he could take from his camera in the type of night vision. But yeah, that's pretty bizarre stuff right there, eh?
It is. And to me, also, you were talking about people missing around Idaho. Yeah, we got a lot of that. And especially up in certain areas like the Salmon Chalice Forest area, then that's where our wilderness is. And of course, we have a lot of wild animals because I'm an avid hunter. And that's why the last podcast I was talking to you about the hunting. And I've seen every wild animal in the forest except for a wolverine, and I've been hunted by a few of them myself. So it's just really interesting that there aren't more reports about hunters around here running into them, but you will talk to them, they'll tell you about more Bigfoot than anything. And it makes me wonder, like, since we have more wilderness, do you think maybe Bigfoot's more populated here perhaps, and keeping more of the dog men out and more down south? Because I don't think you have as many Bigfoot sightings down south, correct? Or back east?
It depends. I mean, Florida's got a huge number of they call them skunk apes. That's down true. There. Out east, New York's a hot spot. Especially like Whitehall and that area. Right. And I live up in Michigan, and the
Dogman
area
territory.
Yeah. Dogman territory.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just found it really fascinating that I had not heard more about it, until you had brought it up. But there is a lot of speculation besides wild animals out here when you go missing, but there is a lot of speculation about Bigfoot with missing people. Very much so, especially out in our wilderness.
Creepy.
Right, we have
there. Sure.
Yeah, we have a lot of missing people up in that Salmon Chalice area, and if you ever want to look that up, you'd be quite surprised. So, and they sometimes find absolutely no trace whatsoever of them at all. Not even a shoe, not a scrap of clothing, just nothing, just gone.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's Bigfoot related or not, but I've run into some funky things out in the woods besides, actual animals, but places that feel bad, or you think someone's watching you. And then there was one time I was out hunting, and there was a bush about 2 feet tall that I was headed towards on a trail, and there you could see all the way around the bush, all sides and in and through it, because it was kind of a sparse bush. But that thing started shaking violently, and there was growling, and that stopped me in my tracks because I didn't see anything there. Wow. And as I've been to other people, they're like, well, Bigfoot does have cloaking abilities, so who knows?
That is so creepy. That reminds me of one more thing I'll bring up before we do let you get going, but I would like to hear what Mr. Barber thought about that image as well I sent real quick before I tell you something that reminds me a lot of what you just mentioned.
The image is crazy. I mean,
right?
It definitely looks like two arms in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see where it was made its way through the weeds. You can see the trail behind it on not the one that's not zoomed in.
I know.
So,
And I didn't even notice that really, bro, until you brought that up, man. I just happened to be more fixated on the larger one. But as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, wow, yes. So that is a very acute observation there by you for sure. Gnarly stuff. It's just one more of those ones that we got to try to bring some light to. It is a lot more clear than a blur squash, I would say, though, in my opinion. You can definitely see, like you said, the front arms. You can see some features, and you can see the grass or weeds parting, like you said. So extremely bizarre. And Susy, yes, there is a very strange encounter that reminds me a lot of what you had just touched base on. And I wanted to tell you about that real quick. Well, there was a video that was submitted to us here at the North American Dogman Project of a group of teenagers that were riding through the mountains in Mexico. As they came around this bend, you see what looks to be a large black something with ears, so you can't tell really fully what this is. And we have the video still, but it ran into the side of their car, so they pull out and pull over to see if it's okay, because at first they thought it was somebody's dog. But it goes behind the tree. As it's behind the tree, they're asking, trying to see if this thing's okay, and obviously it's not responding. He just starts shaking the living Christmas trees out of this tree. It just walks off in a very strange quadrupedal type like motion. So yeah, no, that just happened to pop into my head as you and Mr. Barber were talking about the other encounter too. So pretty bizarre.
Mm. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I've got a friend that's had a lot of experiences with Bigfoot, run into him, and he said he's willing to take me down to where he's seen him around Lava Hot Springs in Idaho. That ought to be interesting. I have to submit it to your Dogman report.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. Just make sure you are being safe out there, and make sure to touch base with, great people such as Mr. Barber and everybody else, that knows a lot about the Sasquatch, and keep us posted for sure. Yet, is there anything else you would like to touch base on tonight, Susy and Mr. Barber, before we let you both get back to your busy schedules?
I hope Susie will keep us posted, because more often than not, I hear people who have abilities, the mind speak is a little more intense than what the normal person gets. So I'm wondering if they come into play.
Yeah, and females too. So just really quick, have you guys ever heard of anybody with abilities actually seeing anything like half man, half dog, but not like visually, but having visions of them or dreams of them? Because I have definitely had that.
Yes, there is a ton of individuals that do definitely have some encounters that seem to be involving and pointing in the direction of supernatural and paranormal, whether it's mind speak, or one individual said that they saw what seemed to be a manifestation coming in through their bedroom at night. And yeah, other people, like one of my friends, Harley, that works with us, he's claimed he's had other people tell him that they've had dreams about him getting smoked by a dogman when he's out investigating them. So yeah, I've definitely heard that before for sure. Yet I will say, whenever things come in that are, what is that term, a little bit more of the woo or the paranormal and supernatural stuff, I try to make sure that I hand it off to proper people, such as y'all over at Emergency Encounters, or Jessica Jones, or Dennis Carroll, people that will be able to have a better understanding and a more proper answer for people. Because like I always say, I'm a journalist here. I'm just trying to really figure out what's going on, and I am just as confused as I was before, meaning I have evidence supporting prehistoric modern day predators being involved, giant type primates like the Dinopithecus and the Theropithecus, all kinds of stuff. But then I have people's tracks vanishing in the middle of fields with nothing for this thing to jump on, meaning no trees, no structures. Then I have reports that Linda Godfrey had of these bright blue plasma looking ones. Then I have stuff that you had just brought up and spoke about with Mr. Barber. So to be quite honest with you, I really try to always involve everybody around me before I make a true opinion about something, if that makes sense. I'm pretty confident about helping people with the prehistoric or modern day predator behaviors and helping people that are missing, locating the caves and the national forest. But then when it comes to, like I said, the paranormal stuff or extraterrestrial, I really don't feel comfortable giving people answers on that because I'm so baffled.
Right, right. It's just there's two camps of thought, like especially with Bigfoot, and I wondered if this had applied to Dogman too, where they are interdimensional, because some people say that they have talked to them and they say that they can come and go from different dimensions. So I don't know, or if it could be like our resident, Sasquatch scientist at ISU, who says, nope, they're physically out there. So could the Dogman?
Great observation. Yeah, another great question. And to give you a quick answer on that, Jody Cook, the founder of the North American Dogman Project and one of my great buddies as well, he has taken cases when he was over in Iraq of people telling him, he's former military, but that they saw these dogman-like creatures and these basically like halo get-ups. There's other people that, have reported orbs and things such as portals. I do know that at the North American Dogman Project, when I'm working with Jody, we try to break it down into either paranormal / supernatural, extraterrestrial, or flesh and blood, meaning we have evidence supporting all of that from each division, more or less. When we work together over there, we try to figure it out along the lines of that, and I take that same type of separation and bring it over here and try to share those files with people that, are really specialized in that field, meaning if someone started talking to me thinking they saw a Dogman, but I felt like it was more Bigfoot, then I'd, try to get them in touch with like Brian or, Barber, stuff like that,
How would you two feel and or react if one day all of the truth was out, like the veil was gone and you were seeing portals like with your own eyes and Dogman and Bigfoot and ghosts and everything, aliens all at once, like nothing was hidden anymore? How would you guys feel?
I would get to say, see, I told you to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I told you so.
Right? Yeah, no, I mean, that would be, like I always say, cool to an extent, but terrifying as well. Like on my little sister podcast, Camp Nightmare Fuel, with Brian and Barb, when we covered giant spiders that are arguably the size of you, Susy, that have been reported. I mean, I think spiders are cool, and I have a pet little jumping spider, right? But I don't find myself thinking a spider that reportedly could be venomous and think how big their fangs would be, right? I mean, tarantulas' fangs are huge, so sharp. Imagine a spider the size of you now. No, I don't think that would be cool, So, yeah, to an extent, it would be interesting, yet also, yeah, terrifying, meaning if you're trying to sleep at night, and I'm going to make a total nerd reference here, like in the old school Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you get the knock on the window and some vampires just floating outside, glamoring you to come inside and then do whatever the heck they want to. I don't know. That'd be pretty scary.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
So ignorance is or can be truly bliss, huh?
To an extent, like I said, it would be cool, but then just think, right? Sure, if we could manage it, but you're outside, you're like, all right, shoot, I got to go down and check the mail. Oh, crap, there's a horde of zombies. Oh, no. You know what I mean? Like, or I'm going to go take my dog for a swim out here, but here comes the creature of the Blue Lagoon. This is no good.
Awesome.
I think it would be just like Men in Black, where, what was it Tommy Jones said? Individuals can be smart and reasonable, but people as a whole can be dumb, naive, and scared.
Boom. Exactly. Brilliant. Wow. I do love the fact that you both allotted some time to sit down tonight and hang out with us. Yet, to the audience, Susy is a very busy individual, and I do encourage everyone to go check over on the links down below the podcast Emergency Encounters that you can consistently check her out. I will also have the other links up that involve Colleen and Susy's research group. Make sure to check that out. And of course, Mr. Barber's links will be up, so you can always check out what him and I have been up to, or you can go over and check out his work on the Grizzly Outlaw Network. You will see him consistently over there. And I do at some point want to get Susy back. She'll be on here. Just we have to allow her to get caught up. We would like to get Celeste over here at some point as well. Until then, though, this will be the conclusion of the meeting of the Midnight Society for the early hours of the morning. If I do loathe anything, it is the sunlight. Thank you for hanging out tonight, Susy and Brian. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, always a pleasure, and thank you so much, Susy, on for the show and on a personal level.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll talk soon.
Ooh, my creatures of the night, you legends, you, I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for hanging out tonight. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the truth to the algorithm, and we will catch you very soon.